Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. We'll be exploring the fascinating world of article writing. On this first slide, you can see the title Article Writing. This session will cover the essentials of crafting effective articles, from structure to style. We'll look at tips, techniques, and best practices to help you become a confident and skilled writer. So let's get started and dive into the art of article writing. Let's take a closer look at slide 2 of 16. Which covers the features of article writing. When we talk about the features of an article, we're essentially discussing what makes an article effective and engaging. These features include clarity, coherence, a catchy headline, and a focused message. A good article should have a clear purpose and be well structured so that readers can easily follow the flow of ideas. It should also be relevant to the target audience, using appropriate language and tone. Additionally, it should include accurate information and be written in a way that captures the reader's interest from the very beginning. Remember, highlighting these features helps us craft articles that are both informative and compelling. Let's talk about where articles are published. They can be found in both print and digital formats, such as newspapers, magazines, blogs, and e-articles. This means they are accessible in many different media, making them widely available. Now, what exactly is an article? At its core, an article is a written piece of non-fictional text. It focuses on real information, often about current or recent news, research results, academic analysis, debates, or topics of general interest. Essentially, articles are a way to share factual information and insights with a broad audience. Understanding what an article is helps us see its importance in communication. It's a tool for informing, analyzing, and engaging readers on specific topics. Whether in print or digital form, articles serve as a key medium for delivering timely and relevant content. Let's take a closer look at understanding evaluation criteria. When we talk about the revised marking scheme as per CBSE, it's important to see how it guides us in assessing our work fairly and effectively. Adapting our style based on the purpose of the article is crucial. It helps us communicate our message clearly and appropriately. There are different styles of writing articles, and each serves a different goal. Whether it's an informative piece, an opinion, or a persuasive article, knowing the format and style makes a big difference. Speaking of formats, understanding the various types of articles, like news, feature, or editorial, helps us choose the right structure for our content. Arranging content for clarity is essential. When we organize our ideas logically, it becomes easier for readers to follow and understand our message. Layout also plays a key role, using headings, paragraphs, and visual elements to enhance readability. Considering the overall structure and editing process ensures our article is polished and coherent. The format, including font, spacing, and overall presentation, should be consistent and professional. Finally, there are some important things to remember while writing an article. Always keep your audience in mind, be clear and concise, and revise your work to eliminate errors. Keeping these criteria in mind will help us craft effective articles that meet the expectations of the evaluation standards. All right, let's talk about the fun part, funny tunes that you can keep in your mind. Now, moving on to the core of this slide, we're focusing on the features of article writing. Think of this as the blueprint for crafting effective articles. First, clarity is key. Your ideas should be easy to follow and well organized. Next, coherence ensures that all parts of your article flow smoothly from one to the next, making it enjoyable to read. Then, there's engagement, using a conversational tone and interesting language to keep your reader hooked. Remember, these features help you communicate your message more effectively and connect with your audience. When you keep these in mind, your writing becomes not just informative, but also compelling, fitting perfectly into our overall theme of mastering good communication. Let's take a closer look at the different types of sources we encounter. On this slide, we can see that sources are generally categorized into two main types, digital and print. Starting with digital sources, these include blogs, which are often more informal and personal, but can still offer valuable insights. Then we have encyclopedia articles, which are great for getting a broad overview of a topic. E-marketing articles and essays are also common, providing current perspectives and analysis. Ebook reviews are useful for understanding different viewpoints or critiques about a book, and all of these are easily accessible online, making research faster and more convenient. Moving to print sources, we see traditional newspaper and magazine articles, which are excellent for staying updated on current events and trends. Essays, research papers, and academic papers are more formal sources that provide in-depth analysis and scholarly research, often used for more serious academic work. Connecting this to our overall theme, understanding these different source types helps us choose the most appropriate and credible materials for our research or projects. Digital sources give us quick access and varied perspectives, while print sources often offer more authoritative, peer-reviewed information. Recognizing these distinctions is key to developing a well-rounded and credible approach to gathering information. Now, let's take a closer look at the different styles of writing. First, we have expository writing, which focuses on specific topics and includes relevant facts and descriptions. It's all about explaining and informing the reader clearly and objectively. Moving on, descriptive writing is often personal and subjective. It creates vivid images for the reader by using very detailed language that stimulates all 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. This style helps bring scenes or ideas to life in a very engaging way. Then, there's persuasive or argumentative writing. This style includes justifications, reasons, and arguments aimed at convincing the reader to agree with the writer's opinion. It also often contains the writer's biases and personal opinions. Lastly, it's important to note that while descriptive and persuasive writing serve different purposes, they can sometimes overlap, like when description is used to support an argument. Understanding these distinctions helps us choose the right style for our writing goals. All right, let's talk about some tips for creating an effective article. First, it's really important to explain your key points thoroughly, but in a way that feels conversational. That means engaging your reader without overwhelming them with jargon or overly complex language. Next, always highlight the most important concepts. These are the ideas you want your audience to remember, so make sure they stand out. And finally, try to connect each point back to the overall theme of your presentation. This helps create a cohesive narrative and keeps your audience engaged throughout. Remember, the goal is to inform and connect, not just to present facts. Now, let's take a look at some key do's and don'ts when it comes to formatting. First, on the do's side, it's important to clearly indicate the topic. This helps your audience follow along easily. Also, use short, clear sentences that represent the whole idea. Brevity is your friend here. Make your content eye-catching by using design elements that draw attention, helping to keep your audience engaged. And remember, your slides should be self-explanatory, meaning even without your narration, they should communicate the main message effectively. On the don't side, avoid using long, complicated sentences. They tend to confuse rather than clarify. Stay away from unpopular abbreviations or obscure acronyms that your audience might not understand. This can create unnecessary confusion. Also, don't make your slides cluttered or overloaded with information. Keep the design simple and to the point. Finally, avoid using periods unnecessarily or overly complex jargon that might alienate or distract your viewers. Overall, the goal is to create a clear, engaging, and professional presentation that communicates your message effectively. Now, let's dive into the layout aspect of our presentation. When we talk about layout, we're really focusing on how we organize and structure our content on each slide to make it clear and engaging. A good layout guides the audience's eye naturally through the information, highlighting the most important points without overwhelming them. It involves choosing the right balance of text, visuals, and white space to create a cohesive look. Remember, a well-designed layout isn't just about aesthetics, it's about enhancing understanding and retention. Throughout the presentation, keep in mind how each element works together to support your overall message. This consistency helps reinforce your key themes and makes your presentation feel polished and professional. Let's take a closer look at the development of the thought or the body of the article. This is where the core ideas are fleshed out and explored in detail. It's important to understand that this section builds logically from the introduction, providing evidence, examples, and analysis to support the main thesis. Key points here include how ideas are connected and expanded upon, ensuring a smooth flow that guides the reader through the narrative. This development is crucial because it adds depth and clarity, making the argument more convincing and engaging. Connecting these points to the overall theme of the presentation, we see that this part demonstrates how the main concept is applied or observed in real-world scenarios. It shows the progression from theory to practice, helping us see the bigger picture and the relevance of the ideas discussed. Ultimately, this development of thought is what transforms a simple statement into a compelling and comprehensive argument. So, in conclusion, this article has really highlighted some key points that tie everything we've discussed together. It emphasizes the importance of understanding the core concepts and how they apply in real-world scenarios. We've seen how these ideas connect to the broader theme of our presentation, which is about driving innovation and growth through strategic thinking. Ultimately, the article underscores that by embracing these principles, organizations can better navigate challenges and seize opportunities. It's a reminder that continuous learning and adaptation are essential for sustained success. Thank you for following along, and I hope this summary helps reinforce the main takeaways we've explored today. Now, let's look at some writing techniques tailored to different types of articles. For narrative articles, the best approach is to use a chronological order, guiding the reader through events or stories in the sequence they happened. This helps create a clear and engaging flow. When it comes to descriptive articles, especially those focused on processes or events, it's effective to use causes and effects. Explaining how one thing leads to another or the impact of certain actions makes the description more vivid and meaningful. For informative articles, classification and facts and figures are key. Organizing information into categories helps clarify complex topics, and including relevant data supports your points with credibility. Finally, for argumentative articles, compare and contrast techniques work well. Highlighting similarities and differences between ideas or viewpoints can strengthen your argument and persuade your audience. By choosing the right technique for each article type, you make your writing clearer and more compelling, which ties back to our overall goal of effective communication. Let's take a closer look at slide 16, which compares newspaper articles to magazine articles. First, notice the table's structure. On the left, we have the typical features of a newspaper article, and on the right, those of a magazine article. Starting with the titles, newspaper titles tend to be attention-grabbing, often asking what or who to quickly hook the reader. Meanwhile, magazine titles are more informative and are usually written in the present tense, giving a clear idea of the article's focus. Moving to the byline, newspapers include the date, location, and the author's name, providing context right away. Magazines, on the other hand, simply feature the author's name. When it comes to emphasis, newspapers focus on facts, straightforward, objective details. Magazines, however, highlight people, ideas, and views, often adding depth and personality to the content. Relevance also differs. Newspaper articles tend to be current and cover daily events, making them timely. Magazine articles are more timeless, often exploring topics with lasting interest. Regarding tone, newspapers aim to be neutral, sticking to facts without personal bias. Magazines, however, are more personal and often reflect the writer's opinions, making the reading experience more engaging. In terms of introduction, newspaper articles usually summarize the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why, or start with a strong, startling statement to grab attention. Magazines might begin with a narrative or a compelling hook to draw readers in. For the body paragraphs, newspapers follow the inverted pyramid style, most important information first, then supporting details, so readers get the key facts immediately. Magazines support their stories with exposition, background, and supporting ideas, often in a more storytelling manner. Finally, the conclusion in newspapers tends to be more generalized, summarizing the main points. Magazines often end with a thought-provoking statement or a reflection, encouraging deeper thinking. By understanding these differences, we see how each type of article serves its purpose. Newspapers inform quickly and objectively, while magazines entertain, persuade, and offer deeper insights. This distinction ties into our overall theme of effective communication and audience engagement. Let's take a closer look at this example, a newspaper article. This slide demonstrates how the same information can be presented in a different format through a newspaper style. When analyzing such a sample, it's important to notice the way language is crafted to catch the reader's attention, often using catchy headlines and engaging summaries. Newspaper articles typically prioritize clarity and immediacy, so they focus on the most important facts up front. They also use a specific tone, usually objective, but compelling to draw readers in. Connecting this to our overall theme, understanding different presentation formats like a newspaper article helps us communicate our message more effectively, tailoring our content to fit the context and audience. It's about choosing the right style to maximize impact and ensure our key points are understood. All right, let's look at this sample of a magazine article. What I want to emphasize here is how the structure and language used in magazine articles can serve as a powerful example of effective communication. Notice how the article is designed to grab your attention quickly, with a compelling headline and engaging opening. Then, it maintains a conversational tone throughout, making complex ideas more accessible to a broad audience. This aligns perfectly with our overall theme of clear and impactful messaging. By analyzing this sample, we can see how to craft content that is not only informative, but also engaging and easy to read. It's a great example of how to connect with your audience through well-chosen words and a logical flow.